FCC Chairman Ajit Pai is finally forced to admit what was obvious to every single person in America with the exception of himself. That there was never a DDoS attack on the FCC. That was a claim that they made up in order to cover their asses. Now, before I talk about the new article where he admits that the FCC essentially lied, let me get you all caught up. So as you'll recall, back in 2017, the FCC comment system was overwhelmed when John Oliver instructed his viewers to file pro-net neutrality comments on the FCC's website. Now, since the surge in traffic ultimately slowed down the FCC's website to the point that it became inoperable for a number of hours, well, rather than working to try and fix the problem quickly so viewers could submit comments, the FCC just did nothing, and they chalked it up to a DDoS attack in order to cover their asses. And they even threw the previous FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, under a bus and claimed that he actually withheld evidence of a different DDoS attack that occurred in 2014, and they threw him under a bus and made up a second DDoS attack in order to make the current claim that a DDoS attack occurred in 2017 seem a bit more credible. And now, even though it was bullshit, the evidence has become so overwhelming that this is an untenable position. They have to admit that there was never a DDoS attack. So according to Eris Foley of The Hill, the Federal Communications Commission on Monday said that a cyber attack on its comment system that it claimed had taken place last year never actually happened. FCC Chairman Ajit Pai issued a statement regarding the Office of Inspector General's independent investigation into the alleged incident last year involving the agency's electronic comment filing system. For several months, my office has been aware of and cooperating with the Office of Inspector General's independent investigation into the incident involving the FCC's ECFS that took place on May 7th through 8th of 2017, Pai said in the statement. The Inspector General's office asked my office not to discuss this investigation while it was ongoing so as to not jeopardize it, and my office has accommodated that request. Pai said in the statement he was deeply disappointed that the FCC's former chief information officer, whom he pointed out was hired by the prior administration and is no longer with the agency. Pai said the former CIO provided inaccurate information about this incident to me, my office, Congress, and the American people. I'm also disappointed that some working under the former CIO apparently either disagreed with the information that he was presenting or had questions about it, yet he didn't feel comfortable communicating their concerns to me or my office, Pai continued. So Pai's response here is particularly interesting to me, or really outrageous to me, to be clear, for a couple of reasons. First of all, he is trying to deflect and throw someone else under the bus for an agency that he leads. No. If you're the head of this agency, you take responsibility for it. You don't get to throw the last administration under a bus. So that's kind of the first thing. It's a sleazy tactic that anyone could have predicted that Ajit Pai would do if he was caught. Now, the second reason why this is so ridiculous is because the individual who he's throwing under a bus, the former CIO of the FCC, is an individual named David Bray, who actually is an ally of Ajit Pai. Bray actually lied about there being another DDoS attack in 2014 in order to protect Ajit Pai and make it seem like this 2017 attack was more valid since it's kind of a common occurrence for the FCC. But now that Ajit Pai himself may be in hot water, what does he do? He throws his own friend under a bus in order to cover his own ass. I would have expected Ajit Pai to maybe go a little bit further to defend someone who was covering his ass, but instead just takes him, pushes him right in front of a train. Now, I'm glad that he's admitting that, the DDoS attack was essentially bullshit. It shouldn't have taken this long, though. Now, he states that he didn't want to hurt the the ongoing investigation by the FCC Inspector General, which is why he hasn't commented. But look, the FCC Inspector General's investigation, it wasn't launched until February, as far as we all know. Now, it was obvious to all of us with a brain long before the FCC Inspector General's independent investigation that this was complete bullshit. It was a made-up claim in order to cover their own asses. So it's funny that he's using this as an excuse to cover his ass when we already knew the truth all along, because it was clear that when you have a system that is flooded with comments, it wasn't a DDoS attack, it was just a lot of people going to the website. That was fucking obvious. But because he didn't want those individuals filing pro-net neutrality comments, what did he do? He probably instructed individuals within the FCC to just kind of back off, don't fix it right away. Let them not be able to post their comments, and then we'll claim it was a DDoS attack, and that should help us cover our asses if anybody asks any questions as to why we weren't trying to allow for people to have their voices heard. I mean, it's despicable. Anything that he does is always at the behest of internet service providers. He is in bed with the large multi-billion-dollar companies that he's supposed to be regulating. I mean, this guy is as corrupt and sleazy as it gets in American politics. I mean, Donald Trump talked about draining the swamp when he was elected, and this guy is the swamp. He's the swampiest swamp monster imaginable currently in Washington, D.C. I think that since Scott Pruitt resigned, it's clear that Ajit Pai is officially the most corrupt individual in Washington. That's clear. Direct collusion between him and internet service providers. Numerous instances of this occurring, everything from him speaking at Verizon's headquarters a week before he repeals net neutrality, to him laughing with telecom lobbyists about he's a shill for the industry and how the industry has infiltrated the FCC. I mean, this guy, he's a joke. He's as corrupt as they get. So I'm glad that little by little, he's becoming exposed. But it's not enough, I think, to get him impeached, even though I believe if lawmakers wanted to impeach him, they probably have more than enough to do it. But according to them, since they haven't acted, it's not enough to impeach him. I wish that they would take action, because this is someone who's very corrupt. And I have no doubt that someone who is maybe equally corrupt will take his place, like Mike O'Reilly, who's an FCC commissioner. But the point is that individuals in power don't get shielded from consequences when they commit crimes. Since he's been overtly corrupt, I think it's only reasonable that we talk about impeachment, and it's just not happening, which is a little bit frustrating. But I am happy that Democrats are on the correct side of this issue. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's still winning. Net neutrality is repealed, and it's most likely going to be the case that the House will not vote to nullify the FCC's repeal of net neutrality, because there's just not enough votes. So it's really frustrating, and little by little, I am losing hope when it comes to net neutrality, because as time goes on, it's going to get a lot more difficult for us to win back net neutrality. So hopefully states will take action, and we've all got to continue doing what we can to exert pressure on lawmakers.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.